Baldur's Gate 3 has a shocking amount of playable characters, companions, and allies you can gather throughout your journey. From the zesty besty Astarion all the way to filthy gith Lae'zel, there's a lot of individuality to be found here. Several storylines, endless endings, and awesome abilities, all contributing to what might just be the game of all time. Throughout my playthroughs, I was so damn inspired by the amount of bizarre interactions, unique abilities, and niche dialogue scenarios that the companions in Baldur's Gate 3 provide. Larian Studios not only managed to craft characters that promote genuine emotion in the player, but also give those characters multiple routes, multiple endings, and romance options. And that love and care is what we're gonna delve into, so that we might just uncover the liquid gold that Larian has distilled here, and how other games can follow suit. Baldur's Gate 3 has a total of 10 companions, 6 you can pick from the very start, and 4 you have to earn throughout different questlines. And amongst these characters, 4 are given to you practically for free towards the beginning of the game. You can be completely distant as to refuse joining up with them, all the way to becoming so close to them, transforming into their lover across hundreds of hours. These companions have their own unique charms, but I'm less interested in that and more interested in how these companions serve the player's overall experience. For example, in this video about the illicit powers, I talked about how companions each serve as lenses into the player's mindset. The curious Astarion, the prudent Lae'zel, and cautious Shard, who sits between the two. But that extends to the entire game, not just the illicit powers. For example, depending on who you have in your party, you'll receive various suggestions from each of the companions on what the right choice really is, which ironically makes Baldur's Gate 3's no one correct choice approach to dialogue hit so hard for me. Infected with tadpoles, we've got the optimistic Karlach, the wannabe heroic Will, the cautious Shardy, power-hungry Minthara, and so much more. Need to pick a side between the druids and the goblins? Well, there's skepticism from Lae'zel, indifference from Astarion, and loyalty from Will. I love a game that actually finds a way to please players of different demographics without blatantly pandering. Like, to be brutally honest, Astarion is always in my party because I found that he mostly approved of my choices or had dialogue that I found funny or interesting. Same with Minthara or Shadowheart. But in the same way most of my runs turn evil, many people extract just as much, if not more enjoyment out of the heroic savior runs that lean into Lae'zel's excommunication and subsequent redemption, Will's infernal pact, and Karlach's struggle for connection, where most games try to pander with brutally restrictive agree, disagree, antagonize, refuse options. Baldur's Gate 3 literally just cares about you enough to give you the tools to feel truly yourself while you play. And that is where most games usually go wrong. Although gems peer their lovely heads through the cracks here and there, like Baldur's Gate 3, there seems to be, at least from my perspective, an infectious worm in the brain of the modern gaming zeitgeist. Games like Genshin Impact, Stalker 2, and Watch Dogs Legion, which I'm still mad about, with absolutely zero three-dimensional companions. It's almost acceptable that games compete to get the most profits while simultaneously minimizing art that could be considered controversial, passion that could introduce risk, and things of that nature. But I don't think it is. Hear me out here. Games competing for profits is completely fine. It's good, in fact, as it naturally drives quality up for the consumers. Where it goes wrong for me is when studios blatantly ignore Nat 20 successes like Baldur's Gate 3 with the extreme topics of abuse, sex, and murder permeating playthroughs, and in their ignorance create. And you know what? People buy it. The world where Baldur's Gate 3 tier slam dunks come out over and over, and every gamer can feel the sun of the Emerald Grove, the oppressive Shadow Curse, and the scale of Baldur's Gate is the world that I want to help come into being. So if you care about passion first, profit satisfying gamers games, then subscribe for more. Throughout each playthrough, it's actually quite easy to miss the different companions. For example, on my first run, I missed Karlach, Will, and Minsk. That wasn't because I was being careless either. It's just a byproduct of the routes that I took. I raided the Grove in Act 1, so Will and Karlach straight up left. I never found Minsk in Act 3, so when I went to replay the game as the Dark Urge, I made sure to find these companions and properly stick with them, to which I was rewarded with cool items, unique dialogue, and plenty of interesting moments. These characters not only contribute to multiple different endings that make you feel, but they also add to the replayability of Baldur's Gate 3, which is something genuinely special. Each character in Baldur's Gate 3 3 represents a plethora of different unique moral stances that the player can take. Throughout the game, Astarion is evil, from interrupting Romeo and Juliet on a whim all the way to mass genocide for an extra 1d6 necrotic damage. In the same vein as Astarion, Karlach tries to be the optimistic, good voice of the party. She'll get mad but gently bring you down when you do evil things. She'll often be the literal hot-headed voice of reason in many situations, and ironically, it's the perfect game for people who don't have the capabilities to meet up with a dungeon master and go through the brutal process of getting a D&D campaign off the ground. Larian Studios managed to create every D&D fiend's wet dream with Baldur's Gate 3. A world where the whole party shows up, works together, has unique skills, and the DM has a sexy voice. Shifting from companions over to demographics, Baldur's Gate 3 rewards each and every demographic of gamer at the exact same time, while simultaneously maintaining a fun gamer's gaming experience. Throughout the entire game, there's a catered, tailor-made experience for any type of gamer you can think of. And it's not in a political way, where they have political choice A and political choice B and then a weirdo option. It's much closer to an immersive sim, where the choices aren't made in dialogue, even if they are. For example, there's a rude little shit gnome fella named Baldur. You initially see him leading a prison break underneath Moonrise Towers, and you can either help him, kill him, free him, or let him die. Then you talk to him and he gives you a pittance of coins for your life-saving rescue. Then he becomes a terrorist in Act 3 with an entirely new questline that provides you various different new options based on your previous ones. And this is exactly what I mean when I say every demographic gets a choice in Baldur's Gate 3, even outside of the companions. Because not everyone agrees with terrorism, even though it really helps out during Act 3. Some people are just evil and will do it anyway, and some people will stop and find a diplomatic solution to the Steel Watch. There's just so much choice, and the companions are the greatest example of that, because that quest I just detailed looks like Ubisoft compared to just how in-depth the character unique questlines are, which is what makes Baldur's Gate 3 feel like a once-in-a-lifetime, generational, genre-defining experience of a game. Do you have an opinion on gaming? Do you want to talk to me? Or do you just want a place to discuss your favorite games? Well, do I have the place for you? The Between Sardine Discord could be all yours for free. Just click the link in the description to learn more. Single-player gaming has a lot to learn from Baldur's Gate 3's multifaceted, multi-layered companions. The reason I got into single-player games in the first place was because no one would play Minecraft with me when I was 10. This being said, your allies need to sort of fill the entertainment factor that friends typically would while playing. In addition to this, they don't inherently need to be extremely layered and complex characters that also provide deep insight into the world for those companions to be successful. I think Fallout proves that pretty well. But they just need to fulfill a sort of bare minimum entertainment requirement that's standard seems to be dropping with each new major AAA release. If I was to give this video a thesis statement, I would say Baldur's Gate 3 hooked the gap created by modern gaming mediocrity and exploited it through doing the bare minimum and then some, resulting in an instant classic that single-player gaming should really take a page from. Thank you for watching my video. If you like good video games, then check out how Cyberpunk's factions literally suck so bad and the world has zero interactivity here. Or this playlist, where I dissect how good/bad video games fumbled/grabbed the bag. Goodbye.